Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the importance of allowing some selfishness into your life after having survived being scapegoated by your family of origin, after having survived growing up in a dysfunctional household that simply does not change. I'm talking about an environment where there's no accountability, where addictions and enmeshment and physical assaults and psychological abuse and somebody's character destruction, somebody's systemic, a family member's systemic character destruction is absolutely normalized, and where somebody who clearly has a personality disorder or severe mental health problems are allowed to make the rules, and nobody does a thing to protect whoever they are targeting. And so a big huge part of my healing, when I decided to finally go no contact and no longer allow for this kind of toxicity to take so much space in my life, was really in accepting and becoming selfish. And now this term selfish, it's something that I'm sure a lot of you survivors have already been accused of, time and time again. When you were simply, in fact, just setting your boundaries or asserting yourself, or when you finally have had enough of the lack of respect or the invalidation and the gaslighting, and you finally said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to continue having a relationship with a person who hurts me like it's a sport to them. I'm not going to continue allowing this kind of toxicity in my life. I'm not okay with being, verbally assaulted, with being diminished, with being treated as if I was an inferior human being within that system. I'm not okay with any of that, right? So we say no, we set our boundaries, and to, again, in dynamics that do not change, okay? In my personal experiences, the conversations that I've had with family members have dragged through years and years and years and years. And even when I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and panic disorder, and I had to take pills for several years, in the aftermath of my upbringing. Still, despite any of that and all the conversations and everything that I've tried to do, nothing ever changed at all. Nothing. So, when the cycles repeat themselves over and over and over, and there's no accountability, and no one's doing anything to change these dynamics, the best course of action is for you to actually really, really get selfish with yourself and go, all right, I'm going to start making decisions that are best for me and that protect me and that protect my mental health, that protect my sanity, that make me stronger. Now, when we're accused of being selfish by family members, by outsiders, by people who don't know what really went on behind closed doors, when we're accused of being selfish for safeguarding ourselves, that term selfishness is actually put in like one big basket, as if any form of selfishness is always, always bad. And as if you taking some time to protect yourself and take care of yourself, or when you prioritize yourself, as if that's like a terrible, terrible thing when when it comes to the family system, or when you look at the bigger picture of things. However, I invite you to think about for a second about what it's like, when somebody doesn't have any selfishness at all whatsoever, never having any, drive to protect themselves or to prioritize themselves or to protect their interests in any way, shape, or form, right? Somebody needs your resources, fine. Take them. Take my resources. Take my food. Take my house. Come into my house. Mi casa, su casa, right? You can do whatever you want with my stuff. I don't, it's okay. Take my shoes. Take my clothes. I don't need my resources. Take them, right? I'm not selfish, just take everything I own. You know what I mean? Somebody needs your time. Somebody needs your time. Fine. I'm available to you 24/7. You know, never mind the time that I need to allocate to recharge or for my own, you know, activities, for things, you know, for things that I need to do for myself. Never mind that. I'm available to you 24/7. You know, you want me to be there, you want to call me at 4 in the morning, you want to send me 250 text messages. Actually, that did happen to me once. You want to send me, you know, a huge amount of text messages because you want me to keep, you know, paying attention to you every day, every hour, and every minute. You know, fine. I'm not selfish. Here, take my time. Somebody needs your emotional availability. Fine, let's talk about your problems all day and all night. Let's talk about you and you and you and you all the time, right? Just take it. Take my time. It doesn't matter. I don't need to take care of myself. I don't need to think about me and my problem because only your problems matter, right? I mean, this is the result of somebody who just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. And then what happens at the end of the day when you end up giving and giving and giving? Well, for once, you end up exhausted, you know? You end up exhausted because you have no energy or resources left for yourself. You get sick. You get sick, okay? You really do get sick. You can get resentful. You become resentful because, you know, you give and give and give. And when it is you that needs something, when it's you who needs help, when it's your turn to get a little bit of attention, you might actually not always get it back. You can become broke also, of course. You know, you can become incredibly broke if all you do is give your resources away and all the time. I mean, you know, this is something that I've experienced many years ago. I was a zoo therapist for several years. I mean, I still am. I'm a certified zoo therapist. And a part of the work I did was that I work with animals, basically therapy animals, to help people, you know, accompany them towards better being. And I was really, really giving with all the things I just mentioned, with my time and my resources and my availability. And this led for people to take advantage of my services big time. You know, I didn't charge what I was worth because I felt so much empathy. There was a woman that comes to mind that, you know, she had a son who had oppositional defiance disorder. She told me that she was broke and she really, you know, she really like played with that empathy and you know, oh, you know, I'm broke, I can't help my son, can you help me? You know, this is so good for him, the animals and what you do. And I was like, okay, sure, you know, I'll do it. And I was basically working, you know, with donations at that point. And you know, within a year, after having done sessions with her son for about a year, one day she pulled up in my driveway in a brand new car, which, you know, I mean, a monthly payment for that kind of car, like $600-700 a month or something, you know. And also within that period, you know, she told me, oh, she's taking her family on vacation. And I mean, this period of my life, I was struggling because I kept giving freebies to people and I kept giving and giving and giving without paying attention to my own worth. And then meanwhile, you've got people that, you know, they will ask you for things, and they will take whatever it is that you give without there ever being any limit. Once somebody thinks that it's okay to just take and take and take from you, they're going to take advantage of you. And in the end, you know, of course, after a point, I moved on and I started doing coaching, which is what I do now. And I received a phone call from her, you know, many years later, asking me if I could lie to a judge about having done zoo therapy with her son within a particular year that I didn't, you know. And I mean, of course, I laughed in her face and I kept the email just in case I ever need it, you know. But I mean, this is how far people will take advantage of you. And so if you're not selfish, if everything you do is always give and give and give and give, this is really going to backfire. Not only is it going to backfire, but the day that you actually set a boundary, the day that you say no, and it's not even because, you know, you're just being healthy, but maybe it's because you're actually exhausted, because you gave so many resources, and because you gave so much of your time, and you gave so much of your emotional availability that you can't anymore, and you say no. You say no to someone. Those people are going to get angry at you because they have become entitled to what you give. They get used to what you give. They become used to you becoming this generous, and you consistently being depleting yourself for people. And so the day that you say no, the day that you can't do something, those people will actually accuse you of being selfish. Now, you've got different types of selfishness, okay? I mean, you've got good selfishness and you've got bad selfishness, okay? Now, that bad selfishness, that really unhealthy selfishness, is actually like egoistic selfishness. And if you're the family scapegoat, you most likely experience that kind of selfishness within your family of origin. Now, egoistic selfishness within a narcissistic family system will show up in many ways. For example, they get to have boundaries, okay? They get to have limits. They get to say no whenever they want, okay? But you can't. You're not allowed to do that because you don't see the bigger picture. You never see the bigger picture, and you don't matter in the bigger picture. Okay, that's selfishness, because that's not how healthy families operate, okay? This kind of selfishness is, I'm going to give you what it pleases me to give you. I'm going to give you what it pleases me to give you selectively. And then in return, you get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, as I feel like asking you for stuff. And if you say no to me, then I'm going to call you selfish. I'm going to tell you that you're disrespectful, that you're disagreeable, that you're a bad friend. Is making you feel terrible for saying no. Okay, now that's selfishness, okay? Egoistic selfishness is when they will praise you when it serves the family image. They will praise you only when you represent the family in the way that they want to be represented, okay? They will praise you when they brag to, when friends are over. And then they will brag to their friends about how perfect and wonderful everything in the family is, okay? But behind closed doors, what happens is that they destroy you. Behind closed doors, they criticize you every day after day after day after day, okay? This is selfishness. This is pure, absolute selfishness, because they're concerned about the family image. They're concerned about themselves on such a deep level that they will destroy you behind closed doors without giving it a thought, because they're only thinking about themselves. Egoistic selfishness is when they demand constant gratitude, for basic stuff that they gave you, like they fed you, and you had a roof over your head. But at the same time, if you had unmet needs, like the need to belong, the need to be loved unconditionally, the need to be celebrated, the need to be respected, the need to connect on a deeper level with your family member, the need to have a parent who actually gave, who actually cared about you, right? Those needs are going to be, are going to be completely neglected in these types of systems, and you will go unnoticed completely. And the message is very clear that you're not and never will be appreciated, right? So this is selfishness to an absolute level that causes so much trauma, because you're constantly made to feel guilty for things that you really should not be feeling guilty about. You didn't ask to be born in that family. And if they didn't feed you when you were a child, well, that would have killed you, I mean, thanks for not killing me, I guess. You know what I mean? Another form I can think of is the manipulation of your feelings to serve their emotional needs. Okay? Egoistic selfishness is making you responsible for their happiness, for their comfort, for their unfulfilled needs. is making you responsible for their, emotions, for their addictions, for their psychological problems that they refuse to hold themselves accountable for, that they do not seek for help for these things. They do not go and do anything to help themselves. They basically rely on you as their sort of personal slave to be able to tend to all these things all the time. And when you don't, you're called selfish. Now, this type of selfishness, the one that you've been dealing with, is not the type of selfishness that I'm talking about when I'm telling you to be selfish, okay? It's not at all the same thing. The type of selfishness that's healthy is saying no when you need to say no. The type of selfishness I'm talking about is protecting your mental health, is protecting your emotional well-being, is protecting your safety, making sure that you're safe, not just physically, but emotionally safe, okay? The type of selfishness I'm talking about is surrounding yourself by people who uplift you and who are healthy for you. I'm not talking about surrounding yourself with yes men, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is that when you're in a relationship and you are constantly feeling terrible about yourself and it makes you sick, not just, emotionally, but physically as well, it's time for you to become selfish and to actually prioritize yourself feeling good, prioritizing your basic needs, prioritizing your need for self-expression, prioritizing the need for you to protect your identity, your individuality, your choices, who you are as a person, okay? Healthy selfishness is, asking for help when you need it, and saying yes, to bring in more healthy things into your life, okay? It's making decisions that are best for you and best for your mental health, best for your well-being, best for your survival on this planet. Healthy selfishness is investing in yourself, is investing in your personal growth, investing in your well-being, okay? It's valuing your own feelings, valuing your own opinions, okay? It's intrinsic, okay? Healthy selfishness is knowing that you matter and that you're important, okay? And it's okay to put yourself first. Sometimes it's okay to put yourself first, especially when it comes to, living a life that is peaceful and healthy and aligned with who you are, and living a life that's free of drama and that is free of people using you as their doormat and as their emotional punching bag and telling you that you're selfish if you say no to all of these things. Now, I'm going to share with you a series of questions that actually come from Dr. Gabor Mate, which is, he's so amazing, and his teachings are so amazing, and thank you, Dr. Mate, for existing. Here's a couple of mindfulness questions that are going to be very useful for you if you're struggling with this concept of being healthily selfish, okay? So, number one, ask yourself, can you identify where you have difficulty saying no? Number two, what are the consequences of saying no? How do you feel in the aftermath, both physically and emotionally? Okay. Number three, what are the negative beliefs surrounding the word no? What will happen if you say no, right? And where do these beliefs come from? Then the next question is, what would be different in your life if you said no? Where would you be now? And lastly, what do you want to say yes to more often? Okay. What do you want to bring more into your life, right? So this whole thing about learning to say no healthily and learning to do it without feeling guilty, without feeling ashamed, without feeling like you owe anybody something is a really important art form to master when you come out of these toxic relationships, when you've been scapegoated, and it's such a hugely important part of the healing journey. My life changed when I started doing this. And so I wanted to share this with you today in the hopes that it will help you. So remember, I love myself, I trust myself. Repeat that in your mind over and over and over. Make that your mantra. And I hope this helped you, and I'll see you soon.